This week, I was watching The Ultimatum, and there is something that got said in one of the episodes that stopped me cold. I hate it every single time I hear it because even when something is said with good intentions, it can actually do real damage. There's this phrase that gets thrown around a lot when people talk about love. You've heard it. Maybe someone has said it to you. Maybe you've even said it yourself. And I used to think that that was romantic. And now I think it's actually one of the cruelest things we say to women who've been through divorce. Welcome to the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast dedicated to helping women navigate the emotional journey that is divorce. I'm your host, Erica, and if you're trying to figure out life after the big D, welcome to the club. Whether you're contemplating divorce or dealing with the aftermath or any of the many phases in between, the club has got you covered. Each week, you'll hear stories from women who have been in your shoes. This isn't about spilling tea on divorce details. This is about giving you the tools to take control of your own healing journey. Listen in weekly for advice, tips, and tools to help you move through each stage of the process. Welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club. I'm your host, Erica, and before we dive into today's episode, I want to give a shout out to last week's guest, Melissa Murphy-Pavone. If you missed our conversation, please go back and listen. Melissa is the author of Divorce by Design, and she's not here to tell you to lawyer up or to fight dirty. She believes divorce doesn't have to be a battlefield that destroys your family or your bank account. And what I loved most about our chat is how Melissa proves that you can be strategic about protecting yourself and your kids without turning divorce into a war zone. So if money worries are keeping you up at night, and if you are still untangling the financial mess from your divorce, go listen to last week's episode. Then grab a copy of her book, Divorce by Design. Melissa will show you how to protect what's yours without losing your soul in the process. For all the links and to work directly with Melissa, head over to mindfuldivorcepartners.com. Now, let's talk about this week. I don't know about you guys, but anybody else really getting into all the Nick Lachey love story TV shows that they can create? This week, I was actually watching The Ultimatum, and there is something that got said in one of the episodes that stopped me cold. I have been ruminating on it. I heard it. I was like, oh my God, I hate that sentence. I hate it every single time I hear it. And I think that that is a strong conversation about what we need to look at today. Because even when something is said with good intentions, it can actually do real damage. So there's this phrase that gets thrown around a lot when people talk about love. You've heard it. Maybe someone has said it to you. Maybe you've even said it yourself. You just know. You just know when it's right. You just know when you found the one. And I used to think that that was romantic. And now I think it's actually one of the cruelest things we say to women who've been through divorce. Let me back up. The Ultimatum, in case you don't watch good trashy TV, is a TV show where a couple agrees to come on the show because one person in the partnership has delivered the ultimatum. We get married or this is over. So they come to the show, they date the other couples that have also been given the ultimatum, and they move into a 2-week trial marriage with a new person. After their trial marriage, they go back with their original person. And at the end of the show, we hear whether or not the person has had a change of heart. Did their relationship get stronger? Did they learn? Did they grow? Did they move through the things? And ultimately, are they going to choose to get engaged? Now, this one scene comes from during the trial marriage where they were meeting the parents, because not only do you move in and live with this person for 2 weeks, but you meet some of the people that are important to them, some of the people whose opinions or viewpoints matter in being able to make the decision of, are you with the right person? So in this specific episode, the trial marriage couple was meeting the parents, and the parents shared that they had been married for 35 years. That they met on a blind date and that they got married and that it had been a wonderful 35 years. But then the mom said, I just knew, you know, in your gut. It's a sweet moment, right? Like they're sitting here about this beautiful love story. It was a blind date, but the moment she met him, she just knew. She knew this was the one. Except here's what that sentence actually does. If she just knew, what does it mean for you? That you didn't know? That you picked wrong? That she was better? That your gut is broken? And if you just know, is the answer to understanding whether or not you have the right partner. Why do half of marriages end? Did all those people just not know? Or were those people who do know that much better? So when someone says, you just know, they absolutely mean well. They're trying to give you hope. They're trying to tell you that real love feels a certain way, that it's unshakable. But here's what that sentence does to a divorced woman. It turns her divorce into evidence that she got it wrong, that her gut was broken, that she didn't know and she should have. And then when she starts dating again and she feels doubt, which is completely normal, she wonders if that means this relationship is wrong. Because supposedly, if you were right, she'd just know. That's not romantic. That is a trap. And that does all of us a disservice when we are stuck in a place of trying to relearn how to trust our heart to somebody else. This conversation also came up in the club last week because we have a member who is newer in her relationship. She's a couple months in and she's experiencing this roller coaster of, do you just know things are good? But she's a little bit terrified because it's scary to hope. It's scary to let yourself want something to work, and because nobody wants to pick wrong again. So when we started talking about it, I shared that I too had some of these revelations recently when my partner was on that long 10-day trip. If you had a chance, I talked about looking at the codependency that was still existing in our relationship and the false flags that your nervous system likes to put up when it's been triggered in that way. So she and I were talking and I was saying, all these questions start popping up. Oh, if I'm doubting this, does that mean it's wrong? Or if I'm feeling this way, does that mean it's a red flag that I need to leave? But I really like this person, but then I'm really scared that this might actually work. Or what if it doesn't work? Or what if I'm making the wrong choices? And your head fills up with so many questions because the system that you use to pick just got told it was wrong. Nobody got married to get divorced. In fact, oh my God, that was another line in the ultimatum. One of the girls was like, I only want to get engaged once. No shit, Sherlock. We all did. And yet, half of us are sitting in a place where it didn't work. And so our picker feels a little bit broken. It feels really hard to trust that we know the right choice because not only did our marriage not work, but we also probably stayed longer than we should have. So we get to this question of, can I even trust myself? When do I know that the things that my body is feeling and my mind are thinking are real? And when are they false evidence appearing real? When are they just fear? Are the doubts red flags? Or is your nervous system just doing what it's learned to do, to protect you, to send up the flags of awareness saying, whoa, be careful, something is going on? I really want to talk through those things. And I want to show you and teach you how to start to tell the difference between intuition and fear. I would say this is one of those personal development journeys I went on after my marriage that I didn't realize had been so broken until I started to date again, until I started to have to really put my heart on the line again. Because there's nothing worse than sitting in a space of being in this new relationship, of knowing that there are things that you really like, but then hearing some of those doubts, those uncertainties, and having to decide, I don't want to start over again, but am I staying just because I don't want to start over? Or are there really problems that mean this isn't the right one? Truth is, if this is you, you do not have a broken picker. You have a nervous system that is working on overtime. It has learned that love hurts. It has learned that even when things appear real, you can't always trust what's happening. And most importantly, your nervous system is constantly scanning for danger. So even things that are probably relatively little and can be worked through, because 90% of the conflict that comes up in your relationship doesn't ever go away. You learn how to work with it. Your system continues to say that's a threat. And that means something might be wrong. I'll be honest with you. I'm not planning to get married again. Unless something drastically changes in my system, I don't ever foresee that shifting. Now, when I first got divorced, I definitely thought I was going to get married again. And as I dated and as I tried to trust my heart again, and as I rebuilt my picker, and as I landed in this relationship, I realized that that declaration of this is the one is what makes it feel so scary. And that's exactly the part that blocks it from being able to work out. So when you've been what you have been through, even if it was a good divorce, it's still painful. That trust doesn't come back all at once. That trust with yourself, that trust with your inner knowing to say, I know what the real answer is. Your picker doesn't just reset. We have to teach it again how to understand what's real and what's not real. So for me, that means that I refuse to make a forever decision from a nervous system that's still learning what it feels like to be safe. I know that there are steps forward that feel good. And I know when things feel like it's too big, like it feels too big to ever show up again and say forever and ever. Do I hope that my current relationship lasts forever and ever? Yes. Do I think we're on a very good path that is the reality? 100%. But there is something that happens in your nervous system when you try and make a declaration, especially when you've made that declaration before and your heart got broken in the process when it wasn't true. So what does it feel like when you actually start dating again? It feels a lot like that same emotional roller coaster of the ups and the downs. You're so excited. It feels so good to be happy. Then you feel so uncertain about this happiness. What if it all comes crashing down? What if it all stops? What if this doesn't work? What if this person is the wrong one? What if I change my mind? What if I don't know what I'm actually getting into right now? And it's not that all those fears and worries are true. It is that your system is throwing out all of the problems that your mind wants to sift and sort through to know that your heart won't get hurt again. And there is a moment in this process when you need to come to terms with the fact that doubt doesn't mean it's wrong. It means you're human. It means you're sifting and sorting. It means you're trying to decide, is this the right one? I would be lying to you if I told you that there weren't moments when I have doubted my current relationship. There was a moment when he came back from Ireland after a blissful few days that then we got back into work and we got back into other things and we rubbed each other a little bit the wrong way. And that little doubt crept back in. And I said, oh my gosh, but I was just so peaceful and so happy. And now I am so mad. Does that mean that this relationship is wrong? No, it means that there's a thing that I need to reflect on. There's a piece that I need more clarity on, but it doesn't necessarily mean your relationship is wrong, which is why that statement of, I just felt it, I just knew, can be so destabilizing for somebody whose world has collapsed. So for me, what this looks like is I stopped asking myself, is this the one? And I started asking something smaller. I started asking something about, do I want to talk to this person again tomorrow, next week, next month? It was the one thing that could save me and shift me out of that paralyzing fear of, am I about to make a huge mistake again? When I simply asked myself, I don't have to declare whether or not this one is staying forever, but can I say I want to see him again tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. Then continue to build it one day at a time. Because lives, relationships, futures, they're not built by big, giant leaps. They're built by one day at a time. And one day turns into a week, turns into a month, turns into a year until you sit in a place of 5 years. Yes, we can all laugh. The other half does not want to believe that it's been 5 years. He's got his own ticker, a countdown clock of how long relationships can last before you move into, common law marriage and other things that for him are still a little triggering. So we have a running joke. He thinks we are forever on being together 2 years. He just told somebody that this weekend. It was our neighbor. And the neighbor's like, did you guys just start dating before we moved in? No, we did not. But it is the running joke. And so find that thing that helps you calm your nervous system. You don't ever have to be in a space where you need to declare the one, but you can be in a space to say, I want this to continue. So how do I trust my picker now? If you just know isn't the answer, or your gut tells you it's right isn't the answer, then what is? Here's what I actually use. There are 4 things that have nothing to do with a gut feeling and everything to do with getting your nervous system out of survival mode long enough to hear you think. Now, I use the word think, but I'm going to tell you that it is still an emotional feeling that you are looking for. Okay, it is this mind-body connection. If the body feels it, the mind tries to comprehend it. The mind tries to think through it. When that connection is broken and our mind is on overdrive trying to think of all the answers, but we're not relying on the feeling in our body to understand if it's right, that's when we get this disconnect. So, number 1 rule, never, ever, ever make a decision when you're emotional. Let me give you an example of this. Remember how I told you we rubbed each other a little bit the wrong way after he got back from Ireland? Well, what had happened is a long time ago, he said, you've got to be very clear on what you need so that I can deliver. So I had sent him a message and we both had a long day at work. I knew he was going to be getting home before me, even though he had sports because I was working till 8 and then grocery shopping and all the things. I wasn't getting home till like 9. And I said, you know what I really want? I would love for you to make me an old fashioned. I hate to admit it, but his taste a lot better than mine do. So I just sent him a text and said, I really want an old fashioned. And then I'd really like to cuddle on the couch and watch some TV. That is exactly what I want. And so when I walked in the door at 9 o'clock, I still hadn't eaten dinner. He had just gotten home and was sitting on the couch himself, and I rolled right into dinner. Now, what do you think my mind did? My mind started to observe, well, is he taking care of me? I told him what I needed. How come he isn't up? How come he isn't making the drink yet? See, Erica, you are doing all the work. He doesn't want to help, even when you tell him exactly what you need. My mind was on overdrive. And what followed very quickly was a lot of emotions. I started getting really short, really frustrated. Then I moved into very sad. Then I moved into worried. Like, does this mean that this is not going to work? I told you what I needed and now you're not doing it. Do you not care? Is this just all about you? So my number one rule of never make a decision when you're emotional, as my mind started going down this rant, I just said, stop. This is not a choice you're making tonight because right now you're highly charged and you're pointed in the wrong direction. And so a decision should never be made when all the emotions are flooding your system because it will take you down a bumpier path. Because when emotions are flooded like that, when they are rushing your system and they are overwhelming and you feel like you are drowning in them and you are reacting to them, you are not in control. Your emotions are, and they are going to make you react to things that are actually triggers. In this example, I did a little reflecting. You know, we sat on the couch, I went to cuddle, but I just was miffed. I just was like, I've been here an hour. He never even asked if I wanted a drink. At a certain point, he's like, well, did you still want that cocktail? Because he also knows that at a certain point in the night, I'm good and I'm just ready to go to bed. And so I said no. And I explained why I was really bummed and now why I was worried and what it meant. And of course, for him, his first day back at work, he too was already overwhelmed and already tired and also still on Irish time, which meant that there was some jet lag. I had to do some self-reflection. And when I looked at it, I said, well, this is curious because when he was gone, were you pissed that he wasn't here to make you an old fashioned, or did you just get up and make your own old fashioned? I said, well, I got up and made my own. Okay. So then what is the real issue? Because if I really wanted it, could I go make it on my own? Yes. And you get to that underlying problem. And that underlying problem was I wanted to feel like he was also putting in effort. Like when we're both tired and we both worked long days, what can we do to help each other out? But I knew that I could not decide anything while I was that emotional. So I removed myself from the equation. I got up, said goodnight. I gave him a kiss, brushed my teeth, went to bed. I knew that in that moment, there was not going to be anything productive happening if I continued to try and have the conversation. I'd already shared my feelings. I also knew that the reason I was upset was really not about the drink, but something far deeper than that. I also knew that there were pieces that were my own thing. That's a me problem, not a we problem. There's more that I need to discover. There's more conversations that can be had around what does it look like to support each other and how can we communicate better with each other? I didn't know that he had just gotten home. I didn't know that he had also still been running all day. I had made an assumption that he'd been there for a while. So never, never, never make a decision when you're emotional. Even if everything they've done is trigger you, you need to walk away, which takes us to number 2. Rule number 2, line up to something good, take a break, reset yourself. For me, that was go to bed. It's late, you're tired, you have a long day tomorrow, go to bed. Come at this when you're rested, when you're fresh, when you can think about things differently, and when you're not so emotionally charged. So rule number 2 is line up to something good, then gently shift your attention, which means if you're getting emotionally charged, if the emotional roller coaster of learning to love and date again is taking you for a ride and it is up and it is down. When it is down, I want you to go find something that helps you level set. Go for a walk, put on a good playlist, shake it out, cuddle with a dog, take a bath, take a shower, go to bed, talk to a friend, whatever doesn't continue the momentum that's already built. pretty much put a pin in it and walk away. I'm not saying ignore it, but I'm saying when it is emotionally charged, do not do anything with it. So you've got to line yourself back up to something good. Why does that matter? Because when we are lined up to things that feel good, things that we love, we are heart-centered, not mind reactive, heart-centered. We can look at things from a loving lens and say, okay, when I was lined up to something good, the next morning when I was recharged and not tired from working, I could look at what he told me and look at his day and my day and say, oh yeah, you know what? He probably was really exhausted from the time difference. He's not been sleeping well yet. He also had a very long day. Did I really need the cocktail? No. So was it the end of the world I didn't get it? No. Once I got myself to a heart-centered space, then I gently shifted my attention back to the topic. How do I really feel about this? Can I understand his point of view and where he's coming from? What do I really want to communicate about my point of view? And even in that, so if the night before I was ready to be like, this relationship is not going to survive because you did not make me an old fashioned when I got home, why would I put 5 years of a relationship on an every once in a while need? But in the moment, it felt like the thing. It felt like the thing that was the flag saying this is going to be a problem. When I was heart-centered, I could gently shift my attention back to the problem and say, is it really that big of a deal? No, it's not really that big of a deal, but we can work on that communication and we can work on being more patient and we can work on having a little bit of gray area to say, even though I said I needed this thing, does that mean that my partner can instantly deliver on it exactly when I need it? Not always. So never make a decision when you're emotional. Then line up to something good. And once you are heart-centered, aligned, start to gently shift your attention back to that topic you're trying to make a decision on. 3, remove the forever. This is what I was talking about. I just want you to ask, do I want to talk to them tomorrow? That is it. Do I feel like talking to him tonight? For years, that is how I have approached this relationship, because every time I thought about making a statement of this is my forever person, I could feel my whole chest tighten up and I couldn't breathe because I don't want to be wrong again. So remove the forever. Do I want to talk to this person? Do I want to continue in this? For us, that moving in was a big step. That moving in and selling my townhouse and relocating my son was the equivalent of getting married. For two people who never want to have a legal marriage again, that was the moment where I'm saying, I am going to uproot my entire life and move in and take this next big step with you, not just because I hope it lasts till tomorrow. This is I hope it lasts forever, but sometimes our nervous system can only handle, do I want to keep talking to you tomorrow? And the last one, go general when you get unsure, is number 4. What does that mean? That means when everything starts ratcheting up. Is this the one? Does he deliver on everything you need? Is this going to be the relationship you're with forever and your whole system starts to shrink and condense and tighten up on you? I want you to go general in your thoughts, which means you can say something like, I don't know right now, but I can figure this out with time. Go general also sounds like, I hope that he's the one, but there is nothing that I need to decide right now. It means taking your thought from a very specific question, is this your person forever, to something that is a little bit more open-ended in general. When we shift our thinking from a very specific question that is triggering our nervous system to a general line of thought or a general questioning, we can remove some of that intensity. And when we remove the intensity of our nervous system, our logical mind can come back online. Does anybody know that their relationship is going to last forever? Nobody knows that. Everybody hopes that. So shift from some of those very specific questions that your nervous system finds triggering to something that is true about the present moment. Do I have all the answers right now? No, but will it get clearer over time? Absolutely. Because here's the thing. When you do number 3 of do I want to talk to them tomorrow, in staying general when you're unsure of, I don't know how long I want this to continue to go, but I can figure it out. What happens is it's going to get clear in one direction. Either you're going to want to continue to talk to them tomorrow, and then it's going to feel a little bit safer and a little bit more at ease to get specific about the relationship. Or there's going to be days where you're like, I really don't want to talk to them. I still don't want to talk to them. And your answer is going to become very clear. So when your nervous system gets triggered and the emotions spike and you can't figure out your answer, it just means you are trying to get further down the line than your mind and body are ready to make a decision about. And that can be very triggering. And it is the root of why we can't just trust our gut anymore. Because for a lot of us, our gut, our intuition was telling us that something was wrong in our marriage for a lot of years. And for a lot of years, we chose to do everything we could to try and save it. We sacrificed ourselves. We lost who we were. We said, if I just do a little bit more, eventually he'll step into it, which means that all those years that you were adamant that it was going to work out, or that this was the right choice, or that we will get through this, triggers that nervous system to put up more walls of defense. Because rightfully so, your divorce was a very painful period in your life. And those emotions want to be heard, they want to be validated, and they want to be healed. That's why I'm grateful that you are here every single week doing that work. Trust me, things do get clearer with time. There is nothing that you need to have an answer for right this moment. When you start to use these 4 steps, it's not indecision. It is actually some of the most honest, regulated choices you can make when your system is in a state of overwhelm. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know, when is my nervous system on high alert, and how do I take control back? If you are looking for more help on this, if you are struggling in this, you guys, this is the heavy lifting that we're doing inside the club, or even inside the Wild Woman every single month when you get that full moon ritual, which hits tomorrow. So I'm about to go record our full moon ritual for us this month. When you get those rituals, those tools, what we're doing is calming your nervous system, regulating your system so that that heart-centered truth can come to the surface, because it is in there, but it's hiding because it's been beat up for a lot of years. So the next time someone tells you, you just know when it's the right person, I want you to remember this conversation, and I want you to remember what you actually know is that you loved someone. You chose someone and it didn't work. And that's not evidence that your gut is broken. It's evidence that you're human and that love is complicated and that you did the best you could with what you had. So your picker isn't broken. Your nervous system is being careful, but with the right tools, you can learn to tell the difference between fear and intuition, between a red flag and a system that's been burned before. And that's the work. And it's definitely worth doing. If something in this episode hit for you, please share it with a friend who needs to hear it. The likes, the comments, the reviews, any of those when you're leaving comments on YouTube or in any of the podcast platform, they help so much more than you probably realize. So please head on over to Instagram, send me a DM if this resonated with you. Let me know what you loved and what landed. If you're looking to do this work in real time with real support, I'd love to have you over in the club. The enrollment is open and the links are in the show notes for you to be able come on over and join us. We have 4 live calls every single month. We're showing up, supporting, and being able to move forward and building a life that truly feels like your own. Until next week, give yourself grace. Rebuilding is a process. Just because the paperwork is signed does not mean that it is all behind you. This is the process of figuring out who you are now that the divorce is done. And that's it. Another great episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast for women learning how to heal from their divorce. Tune in next week for more advice and tips to help you figure out life after divorce. And until then, give yourself grace, do the best you can, and know that this is all part of the process.